We first ate this retro beef and tomato macaroni soup at a truck stop when the kids were little. So there's your tip for the day. Always check out truck stop restaurants.
Now, this is a really large and in charge slow cooker recipe. You are definitely going to have leftovers. We're going to start with frying up the ground beef until it's nice and browned. Then you're going to make sure to drain as much of the grease as possible. Leave a little bit so that you can fry the onions next. If you don't drain the beef well, this soup can tend to be a little bit greasy, so make sure get as much grease out as possible. Next, you're going to saute the onions in the beef grease that you left in the pan. Now you're going to fry them until they're soft and translucent. Now, because this soup has acidic tomatoes in it, sometimes your onions will not cook further in the soup. So at this point, you've really got to make sure that your onions are soft and ready to eat. Once the onions are done, you're going to add in the garlic and you're going to saute it until it's browned and fragrant. And then you're going to add it with the ground beef into the bottom of the slow cooker. Okay, so the hardest part of the soup is over. Now all you're going to do is you're going to add in the beef broth, the tomatoes, the ketchup, the Worcestershire, and brown sugar. Now, while the brown sugar may seem like a really odd ingredient, when you have a soup or a dish that has a lot of tomatoes in it, putting some sugar in it actually balances out the acidity. This soup is not the same without the brown sugar, so make sure not to skip it. Then, of course, you've got to add your Italian seasoning, and then you're just going to stir it up to combine it. Now, you can also see that I add whole tomatoes to this soup. That is a really old-fashioned addition, and we love the whole tomatoes. There's just something about breaking them up with a spoon when you're eating your soup when it's finished. That is perfect. You can put in 2 cans of diced tomatoes, however, if you don't want the whole tomatoes or if you don't like the whole tomatoes. Now you're going to cover it up and you are going to let this cook all day on low heat. Now, when it's time to eat it, you have two choices. Choice number one is that you can pre-cook your elbow macaroni and then put it into the soup. When you cook it this way, you have a more traditional soup. It's thinner, it's got lots of broth. Now, you can also cook the noodles in the soup. That is going to change the texture and the thickness of the soup. When you cook the pasta in the soup, it's going to add some starches. The broth won't be as clear. Everything is going to be a little more starchy, and because the noodles are going to absorb the moisture, your soup is going to be thicker. This is more like a slumgullion, as it's called, which is a funny word, but it's a real recipe. Slumgullion or American chop suey, which is another weird name for this dish, when it's a little bit thicker and it's not quite a soup. The choice is up to you. Both of them are great choices. Both of them work out. And we eat this as a meal, usually just with a couple of pieces of garlic toast on the side. Now, the whole recipe, the printable recipe, is on thekitchenmagpie.com.